Hello, welcome to the Polyglot Files. My name is Michael, and today we're doing another episode of Languages of the World! Each episode of this series looks at a different country on Earth and explores the languages spoken there. Today's country, Deutschland. Now, I'm a little biased. I sort of have an affinity toward the German language, and I've mentioned before in a previous video that German is my favorite language to learn, but I also picked Germany for today's episode because I've always considered Germany to be a pretty monolingual country, with most Germans speaking German, and I wanted to know if that was true. Well, it turns out I was wrong. Even though German is the official language of Germany, there are not only a number of distinct dialects of German, but there are also 7 recognized minority or regional languages spoken in the country as well. Before we explore those 7 languages though, let's first look at the language that gives Germany its name. Standard German, or Hochdeutsch, is spoken natively by about 75 million people, or 92% of the German population. German is a Germanic language, or more specifically, a West Germanic language. Other West Germanic languages include English and Dutch, and while these 3 languages are not mutually intelligible, they are extremely related. Linguistically, they're almost like cousins. German, like all other Germanic languages, is thought to have originated in southern Scandinavia in 750 BC, and in the 6th century, German emerged as its own language distinct from the other Germanic languages. While a lot has changed in the German language since then, today German is the official language for the government, the media, and education in Germany, but there are actually 31 distinct dialects of German spoken in the country. These dialects can more or less be broken into 2 distinct groups: High German, where Standard German comes from, and Low German. In fact, Low German is our first recognized minority language spoken in Germany. Low German differs from Standard German mostly because it did not participate in what was called the High German Consonant Shift, a sound change that occurred in the German language starting in the 3rd century. This sound change gives us very distinct contrasts between High German and Low German. Most of those contrasts can be seen in vocabulary. For example, where we have essen in High German to mean to eat, we get this in Low German. Where we have machen in High German to mean to do or to make, we have this in Low German. And finally, where we have ich schlafe in High German to mean I sleep or I am sleeping, we get this in Low German. If you speak Dutch or you've studied Dutch, these Low German examples look eerily similar, so we can assume Low German is on the dialect continuum, somewhere between Dutch and High German itself. It's important to note though that there are quite a number of German dialects, and this is only a small sampling from one of them. And while we're on the topic of minority or regional languages in Germany, let's look at the other 6 recognized minority or regional languages in the country. Danish is spoken natively by 0.06% of the German population, and while that is not a huge number, Danish is still a recognized language in the southern Schleswig region in northern Germany. Danish is also a Germanic language, but unlike German, it is part of the North Germanic language family. This means that Danish is related to other North Germanic languages, such as Norwegian and Swedish. Nonetheless, Danish is a language with 2 grammatical genders, 2 grammatical numbers, and unlike the West Germanic languages, Danish puts its definite articles after the noun instead of before. For example, the phrase I saw the house in Danish literally translates back to English as I saw house the. Interestingly, however, it is estimated that as much as 17% of Danish vocabulary has actually been influenced or borrowed from German. Our next 2 minority or regional languages spoken in Germany are actually 2 languages that are pretty close to English: Sutherland Frisian and North Frisian. Now, I got into a little bit of heat when I first started making YouTube videos because I announced in my Afrikaans video that Afrikaans was English's closest linguistic relative, and then a lot of people said that it was actually Frisian, so let's try and put this to rest once and for all. On the screen we have 5 sentences, 1 English, 1 Afrikaans, the 2 dialects of Frisian spoken in Germany, and a dialect of Frisian that is not spoken in Germany but is still Frisian nonetheless. The English translation of this phrase is, the boy stroked the girl around the chin. If we look at the Afrikaans phrase, we can see that there are a number of words that are pretty close to each other. For example, we have the in English and die in Afrikaans. We have boy in English and seun in Afrikaans, which, although doesn't look like the word boy, it is more a cognate with the word son. Also, the Afrikaans word streel looks a little bit like the English word stroked, and even with the word ken in Afrikaans, which means chin. Now let's look at the Sutherland Frisian. Starting with the first word die, it does look a little bit like the word the in English, as well as the Sutherland Frisian word for stroked, which again has that STR beginning. But other than these 2 words in the Sutherland Frisian sentence, there don't seem to be a whole lot of parallels between this sentence and the English sentence. The same can be said for the North Frisian sentence. We have die again at the beginning, meaning the, as well as can, which does look a little bit like the English word chin, but these are the only parallels that I can point out. Lastly, let's look at West Frisian. We have the first word meaning the, which to me does look a little bit like its English equivalent, as well as the word for stroked, which again has that STR beginning. Lastly, we have the word for chin, which ends in that IN, which is, in my opinion, the closest Frisian word to any English word of these examples. Obviously, this is just one example, and it's impossible to judge which language is closest to English based just off of this. However, the similarities are there between all 5 languages. However, I did find it interesting to note that West Frisian seemed closer to English than it did to other dialects of Frisian, especially Sutherland Frisian. And this exercise has actually left me a little bit perplexed, so if there are any Frisian speakers watching this video, please leave me a comment below. Are you able to understand other dialects of Frisian? Do you find that there are a lot of similarities between your language and the English language? Our next recognized minority language in Germany is in fact an old friend, Romani. The Romani dialect spoken in Germany is thought to be Sinte Romani, which is definitely distinct from other dialects that we've spoken about, such as the Anglo-Romani spoken in the UK and the Romani spoken in Finland. Yes. Are you filming? Yes. Okay, bye. Don't slam any more doors. In fact, it appears that Sinte Romani may have actually been significantly influenced by the German language. For example, the Rome base, or the online database for information on the Romani people, shows a couple instances where German words have been used in Romani sentences. For instance, we can see an example where a Romani speaker has used the word krank to mean sick in a sentence. Keep in mind though that this may not necessarily mean that Romani has borrowed a number of German words. It might just be that the German word krank is being used in this situation by the Romani speaker, and that there is in fact another word for sick in the Romani language. Our last 2 recognized minority or regional languages are called Upper Sorbian and Lower Sorbian, and in fact they're not Germanic languages at all, they're Slavic. These 2 languages are in the West Slavic language family, meaning that they are more closely related to languages like Czech and Polish and Slovak. There are only about 40,000 speakers of Upper Sorbian in Germany and about 10,000 speakers of Lower Sorbian, most of which live in the Saxony and the Brandenburg regions of the country. These 2 languages have 7 cases, and actually they are also pretty unique because they have 3 grammatical numbers. While English only has 2 grammatical numbers, singular and plural, the Sorbian languages have a 3rd grammatical number, dual. For example, this is the word for one hand in Sorbian, and this is the word for 2 hands. Now if you want to talk about having more than 2 hands, you would use this word. Aside from the 7 recognized minority or regional languages in Germany, there are also 5 unrecognized minority and regional languages in the country. I'm not sure what the difference is between recognized and unrecognized, but I figured I'd mention the unrecognized ones anyway. Two of these languages, Bavarian, spoken in Bavaria, and Alemannic, spoken in southwestern Germany and Switzerland, are dialects of German. There are also two Low Franconian languages, Limburgish and Low Rhenish. These two languages are spoken around the Rhine River and close to the border with the Netherlands, because in fact, Dutch is a Low Franconian language too. Finally, our last unrecognized minority or regional language in Germany is Luxembourgish, which is actually the official language of the neighboring Luxembourg. And there you have it. That was another episode of Languages of the World! If you like this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and definitely don't forget to share this video. You can check out all my social media information over here. I would love to be in contact with you. That sounds a little creepy. As usual, thank you for watching the Polyglot Files, and happy holidays, wherever or whatever you're celebrating. See you next time!